Jetsons was an 80s favorite, but some of its predictions about the future were eerily accurate.
Before we begin, do us a favor and click that like button. Also subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be inspired by these inspiring stories every day.
For 2 decades, kids across America tuned in to watch the Jetsons on a Saturday morning. With its space-age technology and intergalactic travel, the world portrayed in the cartoon inspired countless people to look to the stars. And it managed to predict the future with a startling degree of accuracy. Over the course of 24 episodes, the original series of the Jetsons followed the eponymous family as they went about their lives in the 2060s. Though it was a slow starter at first, the show went on to become one of America's best-loved cartoons. Today, there are few adults of that generation in the US who don't remember tuning into the adventure of George, Jane, Judy, and Elroy on TV. When the series first aired in the 1960s, the world inhabited by the Jetson family represented a strange and distant future. But now we're closer to the time of Orbit City than we are to the era in which it was conceived. With the 2060s now just 4 decades away, how many of the cartoon's predictions look set to come true? And how many of them already are a reality? We'll discover quite how accurate the Jetsons was a little later. But first, let's learn a little bit more about the show's producers. Interestingly, Hanna-Barbera Productions had already dabbled in comic depictions of distant eras before making the futuristic animation. 2 years before launching the Jetsons, the company had premiered The Flintstones, an animated sitcom exploring life in the Stone Age. And when the latter had proven to be a success, the studio then decided to branch out. Searching for a counterpoint to the low-tech world of their Stone Age heroes, the studio developed the Jetsons. Set 100 years in the future, it followed a family of 4 as they went about their daily lives in a place known as Orbit City. And the first episode aired on ABC in September 1962. But while the Jetsons themselves might have been typical of a 1960s sitcom, the world which they inhabited was not. For starters, all the buildings of Orbit City were set high above the surface of the Earth and mounted on columns stretching up into the atmosphere. In fact, the architecture was designed to mimic the futuristic Googie style, a movement popular in America in the 1960s. Typically, episodes follow the activities of the Jetson family as they go about their day-to-day lives. Often, the futuristic setting is the source of jokes, like when one of the family's elaborate gadgets breaks down. But at other times, the humor comes from more recognizable sources, such as George's relationship with his overbearing boss. In July 1990, Hanna-Barbera released Jetsons the Movie, an animated musical designed to serve as the finale to the long-running series. Then, for nearly 3 decades, the futuristic family seemed to have finally been put to sleep. But in 2017, they returned in 2 bizarre new takes that expanded the world of Orbit City. In February that year, Warner Brothers Animation released The Jetsons and WWE Robo WrestleMania, a collaboration with WWE Studios. A straight-to-video movie, it followed the unlikely adventures of a modern-day wrestler transported to the Jetsons world. One of the most iconic pieces of Orbit City tech, for example, are the flying cars. And while we've yet to raise our streets above the clouds, some companies are working hard on making this vision of the future a reality. And in 2017, the Slovakian company Aeromobile announced that it would be taking pre-orders for its automobile airplane hybrid. We haven't quite reached the point where people are using jetpacks on their daily commute. However, it's now relatively easy for your average millionaire to get their hands on this mind-blowing form of transportation. And for those on a tighter budget, devices known as flyboards recreate a similar experience over water. In fact, the Jetsons predicted many technologies that are now considered commonplace. When the show first aired and throughout the height of its popularity, many viewers watched the action on bulky CRT television sets. But on screen, the homes and businesses of Orbit City were equipped with something far more streamlined. Interestingly, this wasn't the only piece of screen-related technology that the Jetsons helped predict. When they aren't glued to their television, the inhabitants of Orbit City can often be seen communicating via video chat, just like the Skype meetings of today. And sometimes this video conferencing is conducted through a device which appears strikingly similar to a modern smartwatch. On several occasions, George's boss Cosmo is seen berating his employee on the show via a screen mounted on his wrist. And that's not the only example of wearable tech that appeared in the Jetsons and became reality decades down the line. In the 1980s reboot, for example, the patriarch of the family can be seen dressed in a pair of intelligent shoes. The amount of 21st century tech that appeared in the Jetsons is truly staggering. At Christmas, for example, George, Jane, and the kids are seen on the show gathered around a holographic tree to exchange gifts. Now, decades later, the same technology allows musicians to perform concerts in front of thousands of people. Meanwhile, the Jetsons' diet is pretty far removed from that of the average 1960s household, although it's not that different from many food crazes of today. Take the pills that the family sometimes swallow in place of solid meals. In the future, Hanna-Barbera predicted we wouldn't need meat or vegetables to provide nutrition. The Jetsons don't always consume pills for dinner, however. They sometimes use a replicator to produce classic dishes such as pizza and fried chicken. And while modern technology has yet to reach such dizzying heights, 3D printers already exist which can create edible delicacies out of base ingredients. In the world of the Jetsons, there have also been some impressive advancements in medical science. In one episode, for example, George is unwell, and his doctor takes an interesting approach to diagnosing the condition. By getting his patient to swallow a camera disguised as a pill, he's able to take a closer look at the issue. Elsewhere, the Jetsons apparently predicted some of the nanotechnology that's developing today, with George's vehicle capable of shrinking to a portable size. Many of the cartoon's predictions about day-to-day tech turned out to be eerily accurate. But it's perhaps the show's portrayal about society itself that remains the most chilling today. Thankfully, however, the Jetsons also foretold a future with utopian elements as well. For example, George's job occupies him just 2 hours a week, freeing up plenty of time to spend with family and friends. And as more and more people are waking up to the benefits of a reduced working week, this is one prediction that many hope will come true. The world is filled with stories going viral every single day. But how many of these sites can you actually follow? We understand that your day should start with positive stories, stories that resonate with you. And so we started JoJo Stories. Our mission is to create meaningful stories that cover everything from animals to anthropology, history to environment and lifestyle. The kind of content you read on our site will be one you'll want to share with your family and friends. We hope you'll join our growing family and be part of our community. Welcome to JoJo Stories. JoJoStories.com.